Hello. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Zach UX, and in this episode we're talking user personas, and we're going to be talking about what goes in a user persona, how to put them together, and maybe some things you could do afterwards when you're done, making things happen with your stakeholders or your clients or other people on your design team when you're building those personas. So stay tuned. Okay, so here we are with episode 6, and like I said, it's all going to be about user personas. So the first thing I want to cover is what even is a user persona in the first place. So basically, a user persona is an imaginary person or a set of imaginary people you create in a workshop or as part of your design process that you're going to design for as part of your overall user experience and product design process. So there's a lot of different ways you could go about building a user persona, but typically how I like to do it is with facilitated strategic workshops that I do with stakeholders and clients and colleagues to basically put together these personas. The next thing I want to cover is what goes into a user persona. It's probably more than what you think, and of course it is. It's not like, oh, we're just making up an imaginary person and as simple as that. There's, again, a lot of different ways you could go about building the persona, and there's some details that you want to cover. There's basically 4 main things you want to cover in the user persona that you build, and I'll cover those now. Step 1, or action item 1 or group 1 in your user persona would be basic demographics. So this is the easiest thing to consider, and this could be supplemented by data or validated by data before or after the creation of the user persona. But basically these are your basic demographics. Nothing to overthink about here. It's age, it's gender, it's ethnicity, it's income, basic kind of quantitative analyzations that goes into your user persona. So when you're building your user persona, you might have a template that you work with or a document, and you just fill out kind of these basics, and you could do it by yourself, but as I said in another video, definitely will look to work with people. So if you're doing it with stakeholders, you guys could do a series of exercises to basically come up with those basic demographics. I do recommend that you should get some data either beforehand or after the creation of the user personas to kind of validate those kind of basic demographic data points or kind of insights that you guys create either as a group or just part of your design process. Number 2. So it gets a little bit harder in number 2. This is kind of the psychographics or story portion of the user persona, and this is where you're trying to maybe get some ideas based on observation or even insight from stakeholders on like what are some of the things that maybe the persona is interested in, or where do they go to school, what did they study, what are some of their hobbies, what's their family situation like. You want to try to build a story around the user persona, because you're kind of starting to humanize this imaginary person you're creating, right? Because this is an imaginary person, at least for the most part, right? So you have to try to come up with ways, in my opinion, to make this person feel real, and kind of creating a story will help kind of maybe surface some insights and kind of get some ideas or create ideas, because maybe some part of the story you can empathize with or understand. So again, you might create this story as part of a workshop or part of your process, and then maybe you could do some interviews and surveys maybe to validate that process or validate kind of what you came up with as part of your user persona creation. So coming up with a basic story, you could be fun, you could be imaginative from my experience, but I'm trying to make sure it's accurate to this typical persona that you're creating. So that is kind of area number 2 that I typically cover in the workshops that I run. So steps number 3 and 4 are the fun ones that kind of go directly towards what you're looking to do from maybe a design or strategic perspective, whether you're doing user experience, product, or in most cases both. Okay, so number 3, and now we're getting into the real fun stuff that kind of connects the user profiles or personas to some of the things you might be doing as a UX or product designer, or if you're doing things from a strategic or product management perspective. This is where you can kind of start really connecting profiles to actionable insights or tactics. So number 3 would be what are some of the pain points they're experiencing that could be related to the project you're working on, or just in general. If you're looking to solve problems, maybe you're coming up with some product solutions and you're not there yet. So you might be looking for some general pain points that the user profile or persona is experiencing. So time management is something that often comes up in the personas I work on. That's an example. Couple other examples might be looking for a tool to do something different in the office, or it could be they want to spend more time with the kids. I know it's kind of related to time management, but you're looking to kind of, again, finding a way to kind of connect and empathize with this imaginary profile, and kind of having that discussion with stakeholders and clients and your teammates around potential pain points for this user profile can make a really big difference in how you put together solutions for the work that you're doing and the project that you're working on. So step 3 is coming up with pain points. So step 4 is obvious connection to step 3 or area 3, which is what are the solutions you can start coming up with to solve the pain points for the user persona. So all the things that you came up with in area or step 3, this is, you come up with some kind of off-the-cuff, high-level, holistic solutions in step 4. Doesn't mean they're going to be the final solution. So you might say something like if you come up with a pain point in number 3, which is like time management, maybe you're working on a product and your solution might be time management feature, or like integrating something like that. So it doesn't have to be that tangible, but you're still coming up with solutions that are connected with the project or product that you're working on. So again, the 4 main areas, at least for the user personas that I work on, would be demographics, story/psychographics, kind of basically what makes that user profile persona tick and what are some of the things they're interested in. Then you're getting into 3 and 4, which is the pain points and challenges that user persona is facing in their daily lives. And the last one would be solutions. That's step number 4. So those are the main areas that I cover in my user personas in all the workshops that I do that are very heavy UX related. So one thing I kind of mentioned earlier is like kind of the way to wrap up for this particular video and this user persona kind of episode is bringing in data. So I think I've noticed that maybe a lot of UX designers or product designers build those user personas and kind of like stop there or leave it there. I think user personas is a great way to start a project, but I would recommend validating those user personas and looking to add or change things in those user personas early and often, like using research techniques like card sorting, surveys, just one-on-one interviews, because you might learn some different things that change your assumptions and your inferences. So this, good UX design is almost like a scientific process, and the UX persona portion is kind of more of the hypothesis phase of a UX design process, and you're making really good assumptions most likely, when you're working on user personas, but they are assumptions. And the sooner you kind of either validate those assumptions or maybe get new insights that'll change those assumptions, the better your project will be. So that's kind of my big hot take when it comes to user personas. Great way to start. I love doing them. I get a lot of great insights from our stakeholders when we do user personas, but don't end there. back it up with some research, back it up with some data. It could be simple as interviews or other simple UX exercises, but you should basically be in this cycle of assumptions and validations. And so that's kind of not just with user personas, but a lot of UX exercises. So that's all I got for user personas today. Thank you for watching. It's been an amazing experience kind of figuring out what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to share as kind of this UX product design journey that I'm on, or like how is that going to be like. So now I'm rambling at this point, to be honest, but I really appreciate the support and everyone that is watching. It inspires me. I keep saying that every week inspires me to keep going, and it means a lot to me. So thank you for watching. Please like and share the video, if you like what you're watching. I'm also very open to feedback. I keep saying that. It makes me better at making content like this. So shoot some feedback my way. If you got ideas for future episodes, always down for that. If you want me to cover something that I haven't covered yet, let me know. I'll definitely look to make a future episode around that piece of content that you're suggesting. So that's it. That's all I got for today. And stay tuned for the next episode.